Hintz.
Here.
Lasky.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Sam.
Here.
Tower.
Here.
Belter.
Here. 100% attendance. Good job. New business. Alan Davis, updates.
Thank you. Just to tell the RDA what's going on tonight, from 4:30 to 5, we have an RDA meeting to talk about 3 or 4 different properties in the South Shore. At 5 o'clock, you're invited to stay. Parks Board will attend, and the City Council's also been invited to attend to talk about the development of the boat works and some other opportunities we have for other public improvements right in or around the boat works property based on some grant news that we got recently. And then that'll go from 5 till no later than 6, because at 6 o'clock the Parks Board has their regular Parks Board meeting tonight. So that kind of gives you an itinerary of what we're planning on doing tonight. I do have special guests tonight. I've asked for updates on the Buckstaff property and the Pioneer Island property. I've told you what I could tell you in previous meetings, but some of the questions waded into the legal arena, and I have 2 attorneys, City Attorney Lawrenson and Attorney Thiel, who can talk about those 2 properties as much as they can, since both of those projects are right now in the process of enforcement of one way or another. That's where I'll leave it off at this point, and perhaps Attorney Lawrenson can tell us more about at least the Buckstaff property.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to let Attorney Thiel address the Buckstaff property, and I'll address the Pioneer.
Thank you. I'll give whatever I can on the Buckstaff, but we're in litigation, so some of it is confidential in litigation. But basically, you've seen the property. There's an owner of the property, and then the bank. The bank is now First Merit. We have a lawsuit pending against First Merit. That case has been removed to federal court, so we are in federal court before Judge Griesbach. It's proceeding as general cases do through the discovery process. Discovery will end in late April, and then the judge may or may not set a trial, depending on if somebody brings what's called a summary judgment motion. First Merit is of the position that they're not responsible for any cleanup. Our theory is public because it's in the pleadings, and the theory is that the lender, being First Merit, and was it, I can't remember, Citizens, their predecessor, took enough actions onto that property that they are in the shoes of someone that could be responsible to clean up the parcel. And I will say that the owner of the property, they're working with Attorney Swanson here in town. I would say I feel they're making diligent efforts to be engaged in helping see that property get cleaned up. I feel that's the owner's goal. Whether or not that can be accomplished by the owner on his own, I don't think so, but I'm happy to see we have that. And the bank is interested in helping the city too. We certainly just, aren't in agreement. We have received a number from the owner of a cost of taking everything down. It's kind of a high cost. Now, the goal I'm trying to do for the city as the litigator is, so that you're aware, I would like that property to look like the corner of Main Street between 7th and 8th when it's done, which is kind of grassed. And the better example is at the corner of Oregon and 6th with the grassed lot. I have conveyed that to the bank, that's what we want it to look like. Now, for you as RDA, and I know what you do, too, I would just suggest that this is a private project. I mean, it's private. We're just involved on an ordinance violation, basically, to get it cleaned up. And once that all occurs, maybe that would be the time that discussions, if the RDA or the owners or anything wants to talk about projects with them. But I wouldn't recommend that the city engage in any kind of development plan at this time, because we just don't want to step into the shoes of being involved. That's pretty much it. Questions? Mr. Hintz.
Is the legal argument, or the first legal argument, ultimately who owns the property? I mean, I know that the That is not it. I mean, I know we're engaged because of the ordinance violation, and we're sort of saying, whoever owns it, is responsible for curing those violations.
You want to go?
Actually, under our ordinance, you can become responsible as the owner, the person who created a nuisance. We're proceeding under a nuisance abatement is at least part of our argument. And there are different ways. You don't necessarily have to be the owner of the property. If you create or maintain it, you can also...
So basically, we're saying that we are not trying to say that the bank owns it. I know that they had not recorded when they picked up the mortgage, but we are saying that they've done enough things there that it would qualify under our nuisance abatement.
Yes,
That's fundamentally the city's position.
You've got, let's put some little meat on the bones there, that the city's position is that the owner or a responsible party, we're considering a responsible party, what you just, at the tail end, Mr. Hintz, not from the city side, but from state law, that they have done enough. They did foreclose on the property. They did obtain a sheriff's deed. They did record various sheriff's deeds. This is public. There's nothing secret here. All right? And then once, at some point in time, the bank started unraveling it and backing out. Now, legally, one of the very interesting arguments is that the deed that they recorded it, they had 3 deeds, and they recorded 2 of the deeds, except one of the deeds they recorded actually had the legal description for that property on it. There was an error. It had the street address wrong, but it had the right legal description. So that's quite an interesting legal theory, and Mr. Birmingham knows when a lawyer says interesting, that means the dollars go up.
As well they should.
Yes, there we go. But anyway, so it's that, and remember, because of the foreclosure, the bank did have control. I think that's probably the shortest way to say it. They had control at a time, and they did clean up. They sold where the sales room used to be, the extra down to the south, and they sold the building across the street. That's been sold where the old offices were. But they did removed a significant amount of materials out of the Buckstaff property, and that's more of the theory of what we're going on, that they were on there to such a level that they rise to the level of a responsible party.
So they're contending, though, that they're not
Correct.
a responsible party and that the previous owner...
Yeah, it's their problem.
So is the bank likely to ask for a summary judgment? Or
We don't. I would anticipate it, but we don't know. We don't know that.
And what's the timetable?
April is the cutoff. End of April is the cutoff for discovery, and a trial date has not been set. Judge Griesbach won't do that till once we get through the discovery.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now I'll address the Pioneer Island property. In that case, we've gathered information in our office now from the fire department, the police department, and inspections departments primarily, related to the various issues on the property. We're in the process of going through all that, asking for additional information where we need it, and preparing a complaint, a similar process that we used in relation to the Buckstaff. It will be a very comprehensive complaint. Generally, when we do those, what we would typically do is send a copy to the other party prior to actually filing the complaint, saying, we intend to file this by such and such a date unless you provide us a plan for how you're going to address the issues. So one of the things that we're actually following up on, and that's taking a little more time, is we want a specific list or idea from the different departments of what needs to be addressed and how those things can be addressed. So I'm anticipating it could be done as early as by the end of this month, depending on what else comes up. So that's where we're at with that one.
Yeah, at least there aren't ownership issues.
No. No, it's simpler in that regard.
Have we gotten access to the property yet? Because that was an
No.
issue at one point. is they would
I
not
don't
grant
believe,
access.
to my knowledge, he has not responded at
My
all.
knowledge, he has not responded.
We did want access to.
We did request that, and there hasn't been any response that I'm aware of.
Inspections that have been done off the property, either in the public right-of-way or from the water.
Can fire inspections be turned down?
Beg your pardon?
I mean, fire department inspections, I mean, can they be refused?
We can go through the same process of getting a special inspection warrant for them. I believe in speaking with the fire chief, because they're not operating, there's some issues related to their,
Respectable property.
But I mean, we have inspections for Buckstaff property through the fire.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Is the marina separate from the hotel area? Because the marina does operate.
I don't believe they're separate parcels. I'm
So,
not sure.
so in other words, could that be considered? They do operate the property.
I'm not familiar with the marina operations, so.
I know the marina does operate, and they have a structure there at the harbor. I don't think we had any code enforcement issues at the marina that I'm aware of.
That I understand, but would that open it up as a comprehensive code, I guess,
At
investigation?
the time it came to our office, the marina was closed for this reason, so it wouldn't have been something we would have looked at that point.
Closed for the season, however, still operating as a going business.
Don't know, again, I don't know their structure, so.
Question.
He's been cooperative over the years. It's not like we're adversarial. We just,
Right.
to a point of spending money, but he's been cooperative. We've had various meetings with Jeff, so.
Haven't always replied.
Right.
They go silent, or they tell us they're going to do something, because they were going to do something with the marina.
I know.
Followed through and didn't respond to requests, so cooperative, more so than Buckstaff.
Back on the Buckstaff, that property is not in the South Shore redevelopment.
Correct, it's about a block out, yeah.
I didn't think we had put our arms around that yet. So.
Can we, or should we? The reasons to do that?
Maybe in the future, definitely.
And there's some legislation in Madison that may allow that to be easier to happen. As I understand it, we had a conference this morning about that.
Especially when it comes
The
to Mexican finance.
TID being able to put an overlay.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks.
We're next to it, but we might be able to do that.
Well, you let the attorneys escape, so I
Let's
can...
go to executive director
Talking.
announcements.
Let's see, Boatworks property, that's the real purpose of meeting tonight at 5 o'clock to talk about the good news that we not only retained existing grants, but we got some more grant money. The question is, what do we want to spend that on, and when do we want to spend that money? And I think when the Parks Board is here, and I see most of the council is here, and Parks staff will be up here as well, so we can talk about those in greater detail. The one thing that I'd want to stress to the RDA is that I'm hoping you're going to be there to think about how this would affect the redevelopment of the surrounding properties when it comes to the South Shore redevelopment area and what kind of improvements we should be looking for at the Boatworks property, or the property right of property. We certainly have a plan that shows a lot of improvements there at the end of Michigan as part of that Fox corridor plan that was adopted in 2005. We will not be able to build that, so now it's a question of what do we build in its place. And I think the Parks Department and our engineer who has been working on the Bulwarks property, AECOM, has come up with some ideas as to how things could fit together if the RDA and the Park Commission, Park Board, and the council so choose. The good news is we have grant money to help pay for it. The question is, do we have enough to pay for everything we want to do? And the answer is no, we don't have enough to pay for everything that's on the plan, but what do we want to pay for at this point in time? So I can put that in reserve until 5 o'clock, and I can talk a little bit about the Morgan District, which is what the owners of the Geldwin property are now calling the old Geldwin property. The good news is there that it looks like we're going to be able to get grant funding from DNR for another section of the Riverwalk. Particular section of Riverwalk that they seemed most amenable to would be the section east of the Oregon Street Bridge. And we're working with the Morgan District owners to get a property donation for the Riverwalk so that we can accept that grant of $953,000 and then start the design and permitting process that's can take from 6 months to a year to try to get through everybody. So the sooner we start, the better, and we're hoping to complete that project in 2015. And then the city will have to budget matching funds in the 2015 CIP. So good news that we got the money. The bad news is we have to wait till next year to come up with the matching funds and get the permitting and start construction.
Does that go all the way to Main Street, Alan?
That would not go all the way to Main Street. It would only go to the Dockside Tavern, which is where the Sweetwater property is located.
It's like 300 feet.
It's probably a little more than that, but the problem is that seawall is completely shot, so that we have to completely either remove or encase the existing seawall and build a new seawall for that location. So that about, I think when we first did the estimates, it probably drove up the cost 50% from what the original estimates were. So, no, that was a bad day when I got that news.
This is all, none of this is cantilevered or any of the balancing act like at the city center or?
This should all be on shore. We're looking for a 30-foot width for the Riverwalk so that we can not only have the seawall, but all the improvements for the Riverwalk and any structural improvements that need to be installed to retain the seawall in place.
Do we have the necessary right-of-way and donations from the Boatyard, Sweetwater, anybody else east of the
No.
This is just to their property?
Just to their property. We have talked to the owners of the Sweetwater property, and we haven't figured out exactly what we're going to be doing through that property. There's a lot of different choices to be made on that piece. But we know it's at least going to that corner there at the Dockside Tavern.
Connecting across Oregon, how?
At this point in time, we're going to have to take it to the south and either put a mid-block crossing in or take it all the way down to 6th for a signalized.
So it'll be an orphan there for a while.
It will be. Whenever the Oregon Street Bridge gets replaced, then of course we'd want it to connect underneath, just like we did at Marion and City Center. We've designed it so that would happen. But that could be 20 years from now, unfortunately.
Because of the extra costs, are there better designs that might now need to be looked at? Or is this what we have planned, even though it costs more, is that still the best option?
The best option for design?
For what it costs to do this spot?
That's a good question. We've spent almost no time doing design because this is a project we hadn't really started on yet. So this is.
What about the cantilever approach? You could almost do a bridge for what we're paying here.
You almost could. I'm sure as we get further into the design, we'll come up with the different alternatives that would make cost-effective sense.
So we're in the stretching portion of the meeting. We've got nine more minutes until our workshop starts.
And adjourn this meeting and
Any other
start
business
again?
or questions for Alan? Make a motion to adjourn? Briefly? Motion to second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
We can't start early. Right.
Making progress.
It's a question of how much effect that had.